Sean, today's witch word of the day is Alakazam! Interjection. And no, it is not just an amazing psychic Pokemon. It's also used as an invocation of magical power or to indicate an instantaneous transformation or sudden appearance that occurs as if by magic. Often used as a powerful command in the presentation of a grand stage illusion. But there's even more. This is super fascinating to me. This is what I learned. While the origins of the word are unknown, Alakazam may have ties to a similar sounding Arabic phrase, Al-Qassam, which means oath. Therefore, a conqueror invoking Alakazam may be calling back to a promise made by a superior being to help complete the miraculous feat they are presenting. Isn't that interesting?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the earliest printings of Alakazam in an English text is in the poem Among the White Tents, first published in the Chicago Herald Tribune in 1888. The poem uses Alakazam in the context of entertainment and as an excited expression. This is the quote. "We're going to the circus, Alakazam!" but there's oddly no connection to magic. So, there you go, Alakazam.
You haven't even read that?
Wait, what are you doing with the book?
So he has the confidence to finish the story.
Hear now the words of the witches.
This is Kevin, and welcome to Words of the Witches, the Charmed podcast that will guide you through the lesser-known published material in the Charmed universe and decide how it fits into the grand narrative of the TV series. Spell worders, welcome to Words of the Witches, episode 104. I am Kevin, your resident Charmed resource.
And I'm Sean, and I just love comic books.
We got so much to cover. I have some announcements and stuff.
Oh my god.
I know some announcements. What's happening in the Charmed world? Because I don't always tell people what's happening in the Charmed world. I just expect them to know and find out for themselves. But I'm going to talk about it. So recently, Shannon Doherty's People interview and magazine came out. And there's all these videos of her being interviewed. And she's talking about the status of her health, more about that. And also, by the time you're hearing this episode, the first episode of her new podcast, Let's Be Clear, should be out. So I'm very excited. She's going to give the inside scoop about her time on all of her shows. We're going to find out what really happened with Charmed when it gets to that point. I'm very excited.
Wow, that I would listen to.
Yeah. So she's so inspirational. I listened to her interview, and she's such a wonderful, hardworking woman. I love her. So there's that. Also, I want to announce that this weekend you're listening to this, I'm actually going to go visit Victor Webster in New Jersey.
Wow.
Coop is going to be next on my list of Charmed celebrities that I have met, so I'm very excited for that. Okay, so let's get into our poll from last week. Do you remember what it was?
The poll, I don't remember.
It was, do you like
Magic School?
Yeah, do you like Magic School? And pretty much the choices were yes, no, and different, basically. I did put this on Instagram and Twitter. I'm going to do Instagram's results first. Twitter has a lot of comments. It's actually pretty split across the board. I'm very surprised. So indifferent has 25 votes, 22%. Then yes has 34 votes, 30%. And then the majority say no, it's random and annoying, 54 votes at 48%. But and results were actually quite similar on Twitter. Yes and indifferent were basically tied. 29% said yes and 30% said indifferent. And then 40% said no, random and annoying. But lots of people had stuff to say. So I'm not going to read all of them because, yeah, it was a whole thing. I was like, wow. Comet, Radical Nocturne on Twitter says, I wish it at least had a name. It says Gideon's Academy would have been better. Magic School just sounded like a description and lazy as hell. So I wish he had a name than just a generic Magic School. I'd rather have Magic School than Hallowell Academy. Well,
yeah,
because that makes no sense whatsoever. Lucas Strackle, Sonny Wilson 18 says, hate it. Looks low budget, just like season 7 and 8.
Oh.
Like, oh. But I guess.
How dare you?
Season 7 was good money.
It was good money.
But anyway, Nugent says, I think as season 9 and season 10 utilized it better and made it feel like a more natural and established part of the Charmed universe. It felt like a natural place to live and exist in as a fan, similar to the attic, the manor, the underworld, etc. That's a testament to Paul Ruditis and Pat Shand. So
nice.
And you're right, because like I didn't think about it so much in season 9 and 10. I knew it was there, but it didn't bother me. I just accepted it as what it was, you know.
Yeah.
Galen, you know, they call me Mr. G, says, I feel like it partly came around so they could have somewhere to take Piper where she would be safe due to Holly's pregnancy, and it could fit the story. If that's not the case, it's just a knockoff Hogwarts.
Everybody says that.
Yeah. Especially this manga, totally ripping off Hogwarts all the time.
Yeah.
Inkworth, you fool, says it came out of nowhere and made no sense that this place existed the entire time. Kenneth Clark Shard says, on one hand, it's like, okay, of course, there's a magical school. Of course there's a magical school. There's a magical community, and their kids would need to go somewhere to actually learn how to control their abilities. On the other hand, it feels very much like it was just created without a real backstory. Stephen Underwood, Magic School made not a single lick of sense in the lore or beyond. It's giving systematic indoctrination of a military class of people.
Oh.
And Sitter of All Faces, or also the New Mutant, says, no.
Well, that was not clear. Do they like it or not?
Yeah, fun. So I'm glad people hate Magic School as much as I do. Okay. So I guess we're into the comic. Silence. But I wanted to go over this because I don't know if I went over this clear, and I don't think I went over this clear enough last episode. But because the manga is long, over 100 pages, we have broken it into chunks. And when we finish, we will give the book as a whole a final ranking. So we have no ranking yet. We'll just talk about what we think so far. And at the end, we'll take into account all the chunks put together. And so this will be our second section out of the chunks. And yeah, so that's how it's working.
Just all these chunks, too. Like, it's not painting a pretty picture.
It's chunky. It's in sections. But first, we're going to do power play. Power play. Because, you know, we are out of all new powers in the media going forward. There will be no new powers in anything we're going to cover up this season that we haven't already featured. So for the rest of the season, I am picking a power, any new power that I want to feature, and I'm going to do that before we even start the coverage of the material. And today, I'm choosing Wisping. I remember this first kind of caught my eye back when we were doing Hanging with the Halliwells. When we covered season 6, we did Love's a Witch, and you noticed Olivia Calloway's method of teleportation. And like, have we ever seen this power before? And I never thought about it, but it was called Wisping. Wisping is a form of teleportation possessed by earthbound spirits as well as spirits in the afterlife. So you could just be like out of your body and still be able to possess this ability without being fully dead. In order to wisp, the ghost must concentrate on a being or location. It's similar to the powers of fading, which is an energy-based teleportation, and smoking, which is a transportation by engulfing yourself in smoke. And sometimes this power, wisping, can look a couple different ways. I've seen it look like light smoke in the air dissolving. Sometimes it's a swirl of dust. That's kind of like what Olivia Calloway did. And I've seen Grams use this in Cheaper by the Coven, where it's just like a ball of light moving in an upward motion and disappearing. There's also dark wisping, which is the form of teleportation used exclusively by the Angel of Death, or those he empowers, like when Piper got the Angel of Death. But this time, the user teleports in like dark blue and white wisps, and Simon Templeman specifically disappears in wisps that leave behind the image of the skull, and we always admired how he kind of turns into a skull when he teleports in and out. It's very cool. Clarence, remember that second Angel of Death that we see for Chris?
Yes.
His dark wisping is like a flash camera, and it makes like a brief color negative photo effect on the environment when he comes in. So it's very interesting. And Piper is the only sister who didn't use regular wisping, but she is the only sister to use dark wisping. So just fun little tidbits there.
It's fine.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into this comic.
Silence.
Silence. Thank you. I'm going to go over the details once again. It was published November 25th, 2018, written by Katie Rex, illustrated by Jonathan Lau, illustrations toned by Pippa Mater, and lettered by Simon Boland. And we didn't actually read the description of the back cover last episode, so why don't you do that for us now, Sean, if you can find it?
Charmed. The supernatural television sensation returns in an all-new tale of magic and mystery, but this time, the adventures of the Hollowell sisters are told as manga. Delia, a young girl with blossoming and as yet untamed supernatural powers, accidentally unleashes her powers in a school. A danger to herself and others, she draws the attention of Febois, Piper, and Paige, 3 witches with experience managing innate abilities. With their help, Delia begins to make a new life for herself. But magic has a way of making its presence known, and it's only a matter of time before this incredibly powerful novice draws the unwanted attention of sinister forces.
Yeah. And last episode, we kind of ended after her first day of school, and she had her bitchy roommates and her bitchy friends, and she just fell asleep with the cat while they play with My Little Pony. That's where we left off.
Yep.
So continuing on, we are at Hallowell Manor. Back at the manor. A couple of weeks later, the sisters are sitting in the conservatory, and we hear, "So what's this project Elise has you on?" And Phoebe's like, "You won't believe." Oh, she decided that Prince is dying, and she wants me to write an article about 10 things men do that women don't understand or something. Stupid.
Yeah.
And Pepper's like, "Can't you just tell her now?" And she's like, "Well, I would, but I've been working from home a lot lately, and I think she's getting mad at me. She's always pissed at you, Phoebe." Anyway, and then Paige is like, "Do you even know 10 things that men do and women don't understand? I mean, if women don't understand, and you're a woman." And then Phoebe is like, "And not to be a jerk or anything, but I am the most popular columnist at the Bay Mirror. My fans expect real advice because I'm a real advice columnist. I'm a therapist, don't you know?"
These sound nothing like the sisters that I know and love, by the way.
Not at all. I don't hear the voices one bit.
No.
They're just saying words.
Yeah. So Paige is like, "I can't believe the boys are already in bed. We haven't had a quiet moment for just the 3 of us in, I don't know, a long time." And Piper says, "I'm just glad to have a night off from P3 for once." And Phoebe says, "How is P3 these days? I feel like I haven't been there in weeks." Piper says, "Dominique has been really good shadowing me. I'm almost not worried about not being there." Almost. Let me tell you, owning a nightclub is not at all fun and games. And Paige is like, "We know. It's hard enough for me to balance the academy and being a full-time witch. I'm lucky I quit my job for this. Honestly, I don't know how you do it.
So continuing on. It's like torturous to read. I don't know. Anyway. And then Piper's like, "Speaking of the academy, how's that new kid settling in? Delia, is that her name? I forgot already. I don't know." And Phoebe's like, "Oh, this is the one the elders found, right? Oh yeah, that one. I forgot about her too." That weirdo girl. And then Paige is like, "She's good. I mean, I think she's good. She's not a big talker. I don't even know who she is either." But I really think this is good for her. She must be doing something right. And then she's like, "You know what? But who knows? I'm still not used to being headmistress. Paige Matthews, responsible adult." And this I do like, because I remember last episode I talked about how she felt like she was too comfortable in the position. At least here she's having a little bit of that uncertainty.
Yeah.
That I think she would have. Yeah, Piper's like, "Well, being in charge of something big like this magic school can really show you what you're made of." And Paige is like, "Yeah, thanks, but I still feel like I'm winging it."
Continuing in the kitchen, Paige, sorry, it takes me a second because they don't really look like them. Paige is like, "Plus, I feel like the school record book is trying to tell me something, but I can't figure out what." This page looks like Paige, though. This one, "It'll come to you. These things usually do when it's supposed to." That's Paige, right? No, that's Phoebe.
Yeah.
Phoebe looks more like Paige than Paige.
Yeah.
All right. And then Paige is like, easy for you to say. You're not the one getting bossed around by a book. And then Piper's like, are you really getting bossed if you don't know what it's telling you to do? And then Paige's like, you know what I mean? And then Piper says, I'm excited. I can't believe we get a sister movie night. We're watching Casablanca, right? And then Phoebe's like, how about Psycho?
And that, I think, is on brand because she did love her horror movies. So, okay.
Yes. And Psycho's so good. Anthony Perkins is so sexy in it.
Yeah. All right. So now we're back at Hello Academy, what we always called it, mid-semester. And we see Delia in the library with Marcus and Kit the cat sleeping with her. Like, seriously, if this was Katrina, I'm sorry, just kidding. This is Katrina turned from a human to a cat. What is her life? Like, she can just bum around here for weeks at a time. Like, don't you have other familiars in a house you have to take care of? Don't you have to make payments on that house?
Yeah.
Anyway, Delia's like, I think I get it now. And Marcus is like, great. So during the burning times, by burning witches and their familiars, they decimated the cat population, which they're just talking, this Delia, were the main natural predators of rats. And that's why the Black Plague was able to spread to such a huge degree. And Kit's like, meow. And Marcus is like, exactly, say, do you think Kit is? And Delia's like, my familiar? I mean, she's been following me around all the time. I have no idea why she would be here otherwise, whatever. And like, plus, even if she is familiar, I don't think she is exactly mine. So for our presentation, can we put a spell on Kit or something to add a little sparkle? Let's make her shine and shimmer and glow in the dark. Nothing that would hurt her, obviously. And then Marcus is like, obviously. But that definitely falls under personal gain.
A big concern that we've really been talking about for the past 5 seasons.
Yeah.
So you know how we always have crazy plurs between our shows?
Yes.
So I've been reading the further adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix in preparation H for our Solving for X this week. Yes. And one of the things that happens in that is Apocalypse tells Nathaniel Essex, who's not quite Mr. Sinister yet, to develop a plague to decimate the Earth. And it's like the Black Plague that they're referring to right here in Charmed.
How crazy fortuitous that all of our things, like, on the weeks that come out at the same time. That's super weird. Super random.
And it's usually like very specific. It's not like, they mentioned, a wizard or a witch. It's like, no, this is the Black Plague. Like, why would that be brought up in these 2 pieces of media?
Yeah, the timing between our 2 podcasts is insane.
Yeah, girl, wait until, it comes out today along with this Solving for X this week. It is insane. The comic book that this episode is based on. I'm reading the 4 episodes, so it's fresh, but I forgot how much I fucking love the further adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix.
Ooh.
All right, enough about X-Men. We're here for Charmed. And then this part was confusing because, like, they're having the conversation between Delia and Marcus, but we're also, like, zoning into people walking by as well. So Randall Girl's like, but it's not opening to any Paige in particular. It's just sort of... That's
Paige.
Oh, that's Paige?
Yeah. That's Paige and Miss Donovan.
I recognize her. That looks like her. It's randomly showing me someone's record. And then Marcus is like, but we could totally conjure an image of her. Mr. Lewis would probably think that's cool, and maybe we'd get extra credit. And then Miss Donovan's like, and it's not the same student, but they're all currently attending school here. And Paige is like, as far as I can tell, they aren't the same year, the same gender, the same race. They have a couple of teachers in common, but it's a small staff. Miss Donovan says, well, have any of the teachers been acting differently? And Paige is like, I guess, maybe. Sarah is usually pretty happy-go-lucky. Miss Donovan says, but they're teenagers. Rampant mood swings happen. Maybe an empath has been having a tough time lately. You know how sometimes their emotions can overflow into the people around them. And at this point, Delia's like, fuck Marcus's drag. I'm listening to this drama over here. And Marcus, like, notices. He's like, what? And then she's like, shh. And then now the both of them are spying. They hear Paige say, that's a good idea. I'll see if they all run into the same empath in their class schedules. That should narrow it down. And Miss Donovan's like, I'll keep an ear to the ground and see... Here. I'll keep an ear to the ground and see I can find out anything here. That's what it says.
It is what it says. It's like, yeah. And Miss Donovan, I recognize right away. It's that updo and the glasses. So facially, she looks a little older than she actually was. She's not as cute as she was in the show. She looks like kind of like an old lady frumpadump. And Paige just looks like another high school girl. So it's, yeah.
Yeah. They should have had them say each other's names like they do usually in storytelling, so we know, because, yeah, that looks nothing like them.
So the next page, we're still in the library. And Paige says, thank you. Now, if only I could figure out which fifth year thinks it's so funny to keep enchanting the fourth floor toilets to burp when they're full. Moaning Myrtle thing over here. I think that's supposed to be referenced to.
Yeah, it's so Harry Potter.
Everything. It's like, okay. Anyway. And Miss Donovan, who looks like an old lady, like, it's good to be the boss, right? And we see Delia and Marcus continue their conversation. And Delia's like, have you seen Miss Matthew's student record book? It's crazy. It's like, I think it tried to show me something the other night. And then Marcus says, was it my record? I know what it says. I figured if it came up, we'd talk about it. See, another hint at the trans thing.
Mm-hmm.
And last issue, I was just kind of putting my context together, but I actually went to Twitter and asked Katie Rex, and she did confirm it for me. So I'm like, ooh, look at me being so smart.
Nice. Oh, you girl.
Yeah. But then Delia's like, no, it's what's an inculcated Wendigo. So I thought it was saying educated because it was cut off. I'm like, maybe it says educated Wendigo, but it's inculcated Wendigo. I found a book that says Wendigos are super dangerous. And then Marcus, and Jenny is Marcus's roommate. She's like, oh, is this about Jenny? I wouldn't talk about someone behind their back, but everyone pretty much knows Jenny got scratched when she was a baby. Her parents sent her to see if the academy could help teach her how to be a good witch in control of all her powers. The elders were able to sort of bind some of the Wendigo bits while she's learning. So, what do we think about that?
Sorry, I was looking up inculcated.
Oh, yeah. So, it means to, yeah, I should probably, it's a very odd word. Inculcated means to inspire or, like, infect. In this case, could be like infected or imbue or whatever. So she was scratched by a Wendigo as a baby. See, for me, if a Wendigo has scratched a baby, that thing be dead. Like, it's just dead because it's like there's not much left there.
That's true. That'd have to be the most delicate Wendigo to be like, scratch me.
Right.
Scratch.
And even if for some reason, say it did survive the scratch, I can't imagine it would survive the illnesses that comes through. I mean, think of all the babies that died from COVID. Like, if they got scratched by a Wendigo, and you know how sick Piper was, you know, I can't imagine a baby surviving that. But
that's true. Yeah, and that does, like, bring a layer to Jenny, I guess, that she's pretty much grown up at magic school then, but I don't know. It's a weird concept to me that she would just have lived there since she was a baby.
Right. I mean, I guess that's fine. It's not impossible. It's just very odd.
Yeah. I can't help but I have to do a quick canonical because I don't know why it infuriates me, but, like, Paige is wearing sandals.
As sandals as headmistress of a school.
Yeah.
This is like, what you wear to work in your...
I think it just infuriates me because, like, they're always the epitome of fashion in the show, and she's, like, wearing, like, jeans and sandals. Like, this isn't Paige.
And we talked about this in season 9 too, how she always wears sandals like in the beginning of season 9. And I'm like, I don't remember her even wearing sandals in the show. So, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I know we try to hold it back, but I had to get it out. There's like a fart.
Yeah. All
right, so Marcus and Delia continue. Marcus says, yeah, bad things can happen when magical people get angry. And she's like, yeah, I know. Whatever. We all have a past. She doesn't have to be so mean all the time. And he's like, I guess. I would ignore her, but her bed is right across the room from mine. And then Miss Donovan's like, hey, do you guys know what time it is?
Tool time!
Tool time! And then Marcus is like, oh, crap, Lewis's class. And then Delia says, "Oh, son of a witch." And Donovan says, "Language." And I'm like,
It's so dumb. It's so dumb.
Come on, girl.
I was
Calm
like,
down.
really?
Really. And then Donovan's like, "Hey, at least put your books on the reshelving cart." And then Delia's like, "Sorry, bitch, gotta run."
All right, so now we're at Mr. Lewis's class. And he's like, next with your complete paper. So they have to do a report. So this is what they're studying in the library for. So they're giving the report on familias. Mr. Lewis does not look cute in this picture because he's my cutie patootie crush of the teacher. But this one, he looks like Mr. Feeney. So I don't know.
Mr. Frumpy Pants.
Yeah. Yeah, Mr. Feeney's a Boy Meets World reference for those who don't know. So Delia's like, Familiars by Delia, Miller, and Marcus Lafayette. While many witches know that familiars exist, very few know exactly what their job is. And they're naturally attuned to the seasons and phases of the moon and can be helpful in teaching the young witch in a heightened awareness of her environment. Witches and familiars have lived and worked together for as long as magic has been around. Their symbiotic relationship allows their magical powers, both active and passive, to be strengthened, so that they can help guide other familiars in their new mortal bodies. The end. And so I'm like, so this book knows what familiars do. They know what happened to Katrina, and yet go against it anyway.
Yeah.
And Mr. Lewis is like, great job, guys.
So he's like, have fun and potions. And then Delia's like, we'll say hi to Miss Serrata for you. Miss Serrata, Kevin. And then Mark is like, you remembered comfrey root, right? And she's like, yeah, I put it in my bag before I went to bed last night. God, that was so embarrassing. And Marcus says, Miss Serrata was totally nice about it. It just sucks that the random potion you were assigned was to banish a gust. And she's like, yeah, it's my fault for not bringing it to class. And he's like, it's okay. You're still new. You got to pass on that. And then Miss Serrata's like, oh, good morning. It's nice to see you. You two enjoying each other's company so much. You fucking kids. Basically, that's like what they're acting like she's saying.
Absolutely, that's what she's doing.
Yeah. And then Delia's like, us? No, we. And Mark's like, we're just friends.
Yeah. But notice this painting here, too. They're trying to do those Harry Potter pictures in the halls.
I noticed that. I was going to point that out, too. It's very Harry Potter pictures.
It's so much a ripoff. It's just frustrating. Like, everything is Harry Potter inspired. Like, everything. Mm-hmm. All right. And then we continue with the class. And then she's like, oh, of course. How silly of me. And Delia's like, no, really. We're friends. And then Marcus says, it's never mind. I'm going to sit down. He puts his headphones on. And then Miss Sarah's like, gosh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to embarrass you. Are you embarrassed? And Delia's like, it's fine. I should go. She's like, all right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get started. What do we know about love potions?
I like your laugh.
Who's in love? Look who's in love over here.
These two right up front here.
Because all this energy is draining off of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Has this happened to you where somebody thinks you're with a friend? Like, I don't know.
I think it probably happened when I was a kid, yeah. Just because I like to hang out with people. Yeah, I got that a lot. Mostly in like middle school.
To me, it's like, I guess we don't know yet, but if they do actually have feelings for each other, maybe that's why it's so awkward. But I'm like, why is this so awkward to them? They're like,
I know,
crushed by this. And I'm like, it's not a big deal.
And maybe they're just worried about people, other students around, like being like people coming up to them like, are you an item? And maybe that's what it is.
Okay.
Yes, too much of the idea, but.
Yeah, because I was when I was in New York with Sonia, who I was working with at the time, we were at a bar just chilling, and this old man next to us, we felt so bad for him. His family was like not talking to him, so he started talking to us. He's like, oh, you two are a cute married couple, and like we thought it was so hysterical. And he was basically like, oh, I should have known you weren't married because you get along too well.
That's good.
But now we have like a standing anniversary of like our East Coast marriage every year. Beautiful. That it happened. All right. So Miss Serrata continues, Willow. And then it's a guy. Willow's a guy. And the guy is like, aren't they sort of like not allowed? And she's like, well, yes and no. Using magic for your own personal gain is wrong. And forcing someone to feel something they wouldn't is wrong. But if you mix a potion that will just make your target more likely to attract a compatible partner, for instance, that just opens them up to the possibilities. Kind of like Willow did in season 6 of Buffy. This seems like very on the nose. She says, you could also mix a potion that would make a person more open to the idea of love, or something that would help them believe they deserve to be loved. Why don't you get together with your lab partner to talk about ethical and unethical situations? How about you two in the front there, Delia and Marcus? You're fucking right. Class, look at these two, they're fucking. To use love potions, and then we'll work on mixing them in about 20 minutes.
I did like what was being said here a little bit, because there is definitely like a very respectful way to practice love magic, and this is the ethical way. Emotional manipulation should not lay at the heart of a spell or a potion or anything like that, which is kind of ironic considering it's coming from Mrs. Serrato, who's totally emotionally manipulating these students. But certainly if you're like a Wiccan, for example, crossing the line would be going against Wiccan primary law of not harming anyone, and it harm none, do what you will. So if you're actually going to affect someone's emotional state or trick them, then that would be against Wiccan beliefs. But if you are a general witch who doesn't care about that stuff, you could just be a bitch about it and do whatever. But yeah, think about the karma, because it's still going to come back and get you most likely. So
it's like we saw in The Craft with Nancy when she messed with love magic with what's his name.
Oh, what's his name? I can't remember now.
Yeah, I don't remember his name.
Skeet Ulrich.
Yeah. Such a crush on him. Still do. He still looks good. So
now, continuing... Oh, this is later, after the class is over. They're going to lunch. And we see Delia with her tray. She's like, should I sit by my roommate that hates me? Or my literally only friend after that debacle? Which is crazy. It's like, I hate this. Marcus is my friend. This does not have to change that. Like, okay. I'm glad that she's realized that she's being dumb about it and just go sit by your friend. And then she's like, hey, can I... And Marcus is like, yeah, come on, sit. Let's not make something dumb like that make our friendship weird. And then she's like, oh God, I'm so glad. And she sits.
Yeah, I'm actually hoping that they do have a crush on each other, because it being this big of a deal, it's just weird to me. It's just, they're almost like not going to have a friendship because their teacher thinks they're together. It's weird.
Right. It seems ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's like middle school crazy stuff. They should be better in high school.
Yeah. Or even at Hollowell Academy, which is what it's always been called before and after. And then Delia's like, it's just dumb, right? And Marcus is like, no, there's no reason for either of us to worry about it, right? And then she's like, exactly, you're a good friend and I don't. And then suddenly, like, a bottle crashes to the ground and I'm like, oh no. And Marcus is like, no use crying over spilt milk. And she's like, oh God, you're the worst. And then Paige is there and she's like, thank you guys so much for coming to the academy for lunch. Who's she talking to, Kevin?
But also we have like that weird Momo roommate like staring at her like judgingly, the side eye.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it makes it look like Momo probably did it with her powers, huh?
Possibly, or it could be. I don't know what her powers are, but it's possible, I suppose. Because like in every shot, Momo's staring at her, so either she did it or they're trying to make it seem like she's really noticing it.
Yeah, because then she gives that like happy side eye, like that side smile right there. So it makes me think. I wonder if she did it with her powers.
Interesting. Yeah. So yeah, Paige is talking to somebody for lunch. Oh, who could it be? Well, let's see. It's Phoebe and Piper having lunch at magic school. Totally in character for them.
Kevin, it's called Hollowell Academy. I'm surprised as someone who likes Charmed as much as you that you called it magic school.
Gosh, I should know better. Yeah, they go to Hollowell Academy because they own this school now, and it's obviously their favorite hangout spot. Oh my gosh. So Phoebe's like, no, thank you. I convinced Elise to let me write a different article instead. And Piper's like, oh yeah? What? And he was like, 10 dating mistakes from high school and how to stop doing them as an adult. And Paige is like, I feel so used. So you're coming here to do research. Okay. And she's like, but can't you just like remember your high school dates? And Phoebe's like, rude. I was like, anyway, I really want to focus on today's high school students, not me because I'm old. The young children of today. And then Paige is like, while you're at it, can you do me a favor? And Phoebe's like, sure, sweetie, what's up?
Paige says, I'm not sure exactly. There's something weird going on. And Phoebe's like, well, yeah, honey, we are, put that in your back pocket. We are in a secret school filled with magic and teenage hormones. And Paige is like, no, not that. I'm used to that. And then Paige is like, remember how I thought the student records book was trying to tell me something? And then, is that Piper?
I think Piper's on the left, Paige is in the middle, and Phoebe on the right.
Oh, so the book was talking to Piper, not Paige?
Oh. See, I don't know.
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah, that's what Paige was be saying, but that's definitely a Piper picture. Oh,
yeah.
Okay, I think they mixed the art and the words wrong.
I think so too.
Yeah.
And then what's supposed to be Piper says, yeah, did you figure out what? And Paige says, kind of, maybe. I was talking to Miss Donovan, and we both noticed that in the last week, a lot of the students seem to just be a lot less perky. I guess it could be an out-of-control empath, but I don't know. It feels like something else. And then Phoebe says, got it. I'd be happy to walk amongst the students dispensing my wisdom. Hey, you don't think they'll be intimidated, do you? They'll probably recognize me from my billboard. Maybe I should go undercover as like she did in Never Been Kissed.
Kissed, yeah. All right. So now it's like, yeah, I'm gonna go undercover. I like, I got this. Bye. As Phoebe leaves, and then Phoebe just kind of like enmeshes herself in the student. She's like, "Hey, friends, I'm a student. You want to talk to me?" And then she's like, yeah, hey, Delia, remember me? And then Delia's like, of course, Miss Hallowell. It's like, oh, please, call me Phoebe. You know, Phoebe's walking with Delia, and she's like, I'm so glad I ran into you. I wonder if you could answer a couple questions for me. You know, tell me your life story.
Yeah. What makes you wet?
Yeah.
And then Phoebe's like, are you seeing anyone? Either of you? By the way, hi, I'm Phoebe. And Mark is like, Marcus. And then she's like, I haven't even been here a month. Oh, that's okay.
Delia.
Okay, all right. Delia is like, I haven't even been here a month. And Phoebe's like, still no time like the present. And then she's thinking, I bet Marcus could hear me if I just focus hard enough. Let's get out of here. And Marcus hears Delia's telepathic cry, and he's like, cough, hack, herk, arr. And she's like, oh boy, let's get you some water. And then Delia leads Marcus away, leaving Phoebe to go, so sorry, I'm sure we'll see you later. And Delia's like, bye.
Now here, his power is empathy, but this was straight up telepathy, not empathy. So you brought it up last week, and last episode, you know, you weren't clear, but here we're seeing it in use, and this was telepathy.
Yeah. I didn't think about that. Yeah, this is not empathy at all.
No. Next page. Oh, we see Miss Retta come up to Phoebe. She's like, hey, ask Phoebe. Hi. I am such a huge fan of your work as a charmed one, and in the paper you're so famous. Phoebe's like, oh gosh, thank you. Oh. And then she's like, you must be so organized to get it done. You make it look so easy, and you're so young and hip for someone with a PhD.
Oh.
I'm still working on my master's. I have to admire your dedication. And then Phoebe's like, oh, I just have a bachelor's degree in psych. Oh. And then you see some like energy coming out of Phoebe.
And then Miss Serrata continues, oh, I'm so sorry. I assume that since you're a professional, I mean, I just thought you'd have to. How thoughtless of me. I'm so sorry. And then Phoebe's like, oh, no, it's fine. You're new. You didn't know. your hair sucks. Please don't feel bad. And Gerardo's like, oh, thank you. You're just as nice as I said you would be. I knew you wouldn't be stuck up from being well known. And then Phoebe's like, thanks. Well, that was different, she says to herself as she's being drained dry.
Yeah. All this gaslighting of her. Oh, yeah. Mr. Otto, you're such a clever girl. All right, next, we're in Mr. Monkeyshine's class. Very angry gnome over here. And he's like, and why is poetry so important? You think I don't hear you, but I know what you're about to say. Well, guess what? You're witches. You, more than anyone else, are going to use poetry every day in the so-called real world. A near rhyme can mean the difference between life and death in a spell. Masterful pentameter can strengthen your spell so you don't need a potion. You better be taking notes. This will all be on the test.
Kevin, I keep getting the best pages because here's what it says on my page. Da 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 iambic. Da 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 da. Dactylic.
Yeah. So do you get what he's doing here?
What?
He's doing different patterns of poems, so different emphasis and different rhymes and different patterns. I see. Yeah.
Well, yeah. He's saying the different patterns, but I thought they were doing like a Snoopy adult thing where they're not listening to him anymore.
Oh, maybe.
Aren't they? Because all the dadas are the same.
No, they're actually a little bit different.
Oh.
Because you can see there's different emphasis on different ones, and there's different amounts of das.
Oh, da 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 da. Iambic. Yeah. I see. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, Marcus is drawing a picture of him as he's teaching. It says, "I can fart a petrocam sonnet." Da 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 da. Chokek. Da 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 da. And then, excuse me, Marcus Lafayette, Delia Miller.
Oh, yeah, they drew a picture of him. He's like, you guys, students, bring that up here now. And Marcus is like, no, it's nothing. You don't want to see it. It's like, I'll decide what I want to see. Thank you. Bring it up. And then I think the artist has like an oral fetish because there's so many drawings of wide open mouth sucking cock type stuff. And Marcus takes the piece of paper and puts it in his gaping hole of a mouth. And he's like, no, don't. Well, that's strike one, mister. And then Delia's like laughing. She's like, and for you, young lady.
You're right. I didn't even look at his mouth. He's opening it like there's a dick in there. Like, that's not how you just open a mouth.
He looks like a fish on a hook.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And then we continue. I don't know what that said, but I can tell you that. And then the bell rings and they start running out the class. And Mark's like, can't be late for math. And then Delia's like, whoops, gotta go. That's crazy to me that they were just like, gotta go in the middle of your sentence. Like, that's how we roll.
Yep.
And then Delia's like, oh my God. And Mark's like, I cannot believe you. And she's like, me? And she's like, I'm Marcus. I hate drawings of farting names.
And then we see them walking down the hall, going to get ready for the next class. So pretty much they're walking, talking about the drawing, and Mr. Monkeyshines catches them and gives them detentions. And why is the G silent?
Yeah, it's gnomes. And then he says, your names will be on the list for the detention teacher this Sunday. Be prompt. What are you waiting for? Go to class. And then Delia thinks, I wonder if magic detention is different from regular detention. At least Marcus be there. Oh, Marcus. So sexy, Marcus. And then Marcus says, gotta go to Trig. See you later. And then we hear, no running. And then she's like, bye. As they both go separate ways.
And now we're in detention with my cutie patootie, Mr. Lewis. He's so cute.
And he looks good here.
I know. I'm like, yay, you're sexy again. And he's like, Delia, I thought I saw your name on the list. And then we see some other students in detention. And he's like, I know you guys are here for punishment, but I don't think that's going to do anyone any good for you to just sit right here. Let's have a team building exercise. Everyone up. And he gets everybody up.
Mr. Lewis says, that's it. You've got it. Work together. As everybody's like piling on each other.
Yeah, some kind of entanglement where they have to get out of it somehow without. It's some kind of has to be a game. We have to like hold hands and you have to find a way out without letting go to kind of work around. I think. But for me, it's like Mr. Lewis is kinky.
Yeah, he's
like,
kinky.
oh.
He likes to just stand there and watch.
Yeah.
And then the guy's like, "That's my foot," as he's opening his mouth to suck a cock. And then we see Delia goes, "That has got to be designed to make fun of us. There's no other reason someone would do this to themselves." And Marcus is like, "Mr. Lewis, I don't feel very well." And he's like, "Marcus, it's okay. You should." Bring! The bell rings. "Okay, that should do it for today. I don't want to see any of you back here again." Mr. Lewis excuses them.
And then we're continuing on. The statue of Winifred Sanderson over here.
I just noticed that too, and I have very mixed feelings.
That is so Winifred.
It's a cute thing to add, but it makes me question magic school. Like, why are we like venerating Winifred Sanderson? She was a very evil witch.
Right. So bizarre.
Yeah.
And we see Marcus. He's like, "I'm sorry about my roommate, the Jenny bitch, werewolf bitch, Wendigo bitch." And then he was like, "Whatever, I'm just here for the snacks." And then we see Jenny come out. She's like, "Oh, Marcus and the new girl." And they're like, "Hi, Jenny." And then Julia's like, "Yeah, good morning to you too." She's like, "It was a good morning, actually, until just now."
Oh. And then Delia's like, "Wow, can you spell witch with a capital B?" And Jenny's like, "As in female dog? Did someone tell you? Whatever. You can't ruin my day. Go fly a broom or something."
Such weird dialogue.
Thank you. I hate this page. Because, yeah, it's like...
No one would say that. No one would say, as in a female dog. Like, she would say something like, "What do you know?" Or something like that, you know? It just seems very odd.
Yeah, it's odd that someone as, like, bitchy as Jenny and as, like, strong as Jenny would, like, kind of out herself that way, I guess. And be like, "You meant this by this, obviously."
Yeah. Anyway, so now Marcus and Delia are in the room, and Marcus is like, "Whew." It's like, "I'm going to be hearing about that one for a while." And then Delia's like, "Well, I didn't mean it like the dog thing. I mean, she's not Jenny from the pound on the block. I mean it like a mean girl thing. My name is Regina George."
I can't wait.
Yeah. Anyway, she's like, "Also, I'm still getting used to everything, but I wanted to be sure. Definitely no broomstick flying here, right? We don't play Quidditch, right? I'm sure we do. It's probably somewhere else." And then Marcus is like, "I do not want to get into where that myth came from. Let's just say it involves some early incarnations of LSD in a salve." Which I do appreciate this because this is based off the real flying ointment where they would put hallucinogenics on the broom and ride them naked and imagine they're flying. But yeah, and then Marcus is like, "Oh my gosh, we're out of tea. We need tea. We can't have our hangout without the tea." And the cafeteria doesn't open until late.
Oh no.
Oh no.
So I was explaining this to someone recently because I had heard part of the myth is they actually put the LSD on the broom and inserted it into their vagina.
Yeah.
And they're like, "That's not true. That's not true." I'm like, "Well, that's the myth, though. That's like where it comes from because they wanted to insert it in a way that they couldn't be caught taking the drugs. And who's going to check there, you know?"
Yeah.
So I'm glad that this validates me. This is real. This is a real myth.
It's real stuff. Yeah.
All right. We see Marcus sitting down, starting to, I think, take off his shoes. And he's like, "Hey, I know. I bet we can borrow some from the potions classroom." And, like, this is tea. This is tea we're talking about.
It's just tea.
Like, it's just tea. And he's like, "I'm sure Miss Serrata won't mind. She's so nice." Which is weird. Anyway. And she's like, "I'll get it. Be right back." And he's like, "Are you sure? I could go with you." And she's like, "Don't you even worry about it. I'll just be a second to steal tea from Miss Serrata, who we like, even though the only times we've seen her in this comic, she's like making us feel bad about ourselves." But hey, cool. Tea for potions class.
So we see Delia pass another Harry Potter picture that's probably waving at her and singing to her right now. And we see Mr. Lewis come out. He's like, "Hey, Delia, I'm glad I caught you. I just wanted to tell you that, detention notwithstanding, I think you're doing really swell. You're one dynamite gal." And Delia's like, "Oh, wow, thanks, Mr. Lewis." He's like, I've never seen a student adjust this quickly in quite a while. You've got a real knack. Isn't that why we're all here, though? Because we have a, I guess, a knack. Because like we're magical, right? That's our magical. That's why we're here.
Yes. And then Mr. Lewis, who's changed his face, says, well, yes and no. Everyone here has a gift of magic, yes, to different degrees and in different ways. I just meant that you're picking up a lot very quickly. Not just magic, history, a new environment. Is that really the time? Aaron and I are supposed to meet at the farmer's market. And then she's like, thanks, bye, Mr. Lewis, as he runs off to meet Aaron. I think Mr. Lewis is a gay.
That's what I was thinking. I'm like, ooh, just a little hint there. I'm like, oh, his little boyfriend, his little husband, they're going to go on a farmer's market date, get some groceries for the house, the apartment.
Yeah, we need to go get some eggplant and then go to the farmer's market.
Yeah, so I thought it was really cute. I'm like, oh, Mr. Lewis is my sexy gay teacher. Oh. Yeah. So then we see Delia walking around, and she's going to go to Miss Loretta's classroom, and then you see Jenny kind of notice her down the hall, and she's just thinking to herself, it's only been a month, but I'm really starting to get the hang of this. It's hard to tell what's the meds and what's me, and what's being able to use my magic without problems, but Mr. Lewis was right. I guess, even though it's not perfect, this is where I belong. That's it. And she just opens the door to Miss Loretta's classroom.
We have a rhyme time.
We do. Rhyme time.
Should we try a spell?
Why not? Let's try a spell.
In the wind, I sing this rhyme. Bring death before me, before my time.
You've really got to lay off the rhyming, Brew.
Wonderful. Witty, but wordy.
I did the rhyme. I will do the time. Good night.
Rhyme time. So, Miss Serrata right here, she looks like a 10-year-old.
She does. I'm going to say the spell right now.
Yeah. She's absorbing all this energy. She's like, fears and doubts and worries all come to me at my call. Your essence is drawn into this witch, whether bright of day or black as pitch. And then we hear people say, I'll never be good enough. Like Jessica instead of me. Figure out I'm gay. She won't ever see. I just can't get it. I'm not smart enough. Why is everyone else so much better than my sister will always be the prettier? And then we see Delia's like, oh, fuck, what is happening here? What did I walk in on? I just wanted tea.
Yeah, all these swirly energies coming into her energies and thoughts. And that's where we're ending part 2.
So I feel like in the first part, I was kind of indifferent. Like, I didn't love or hate it yet because it didn't really feel like Charmed, but it wasn't terrible yet. Now it's terrible. The second part was really hard for me, just with the dialogue, with like, especially that Jenny part where she's like, "Oh, bitch," as in female dog. Do you know? Like, what is going on? I didn't enjoy this.
Yeah, and see, like here, things aren't technically wrong, and and reasons are given for them. But still, many of the situations feel forced and contrived. I don't think the sisters' magic school lunch and the hallway interaction with Jenny were definitely the most cringy and unnatural, but there's stuff throughout. And honestly, I'm just not interested in the story. Like, I don't care about the school. I don't care about the students' drama. Sisters are barely in it. When they are, I don't recognize them. I don't recognize their thoughts. I don't recognize their faces. It's really hard. I am glad for the inclusivity. The sneaky queerness is nice. I like the nods to the actual magical practices and real world lore and mythology. And it is nice to see some of the school staff I recognize. Mr. Monkeyshines and Miss Donovan are from the show, and it's nice to see them doing their thing here. But still, overall, it's not working for me.
I do, to point out a good thing then, I do, like you said, I like the characters, like Marcus and Delia are good. I like the idea of Miss Serrata being like a creature feeding on the oddness of teenagers. I just kind of wish it was rolled out better, because like we've been seeing her do this over and over, so by the time we see like, oh, she's the bad, apparently it's like, yeah, we know, we knew, showing us over and over.
right And I can see how someone who wanted to know about magic school might enjoy this, but there's still so many high school stories in media, and this is neither exciting or different enough to thrill me compared to all the other high school things I've seen. And it's certainly not something I want from Charmed. I don't want the magic school. I don't want the high school in Charmed. That's not why I watch Charmed. But, even if I set aside all the continuity problems and the choices that were made that I don't agree with. Lots of choices I don't agree with. It's just basic. Like, I don't know if I want to say it is kind of bad. Just it's clunky. There's some stuff that they're trying. It's just very underwhelming overall. I don't know.
Yeah, I think if we're gonna have this storyline with like Marcus and Delia feeling odd around each other, there should have been a moment of them like touching hands by mistake or something to kind of build like, do they like each other? So that way we have a reason for the awkwardness. But you're right, it just feels kind of clunky the way it happens.
Yeah. But still, we're not giving it a ranking yet. We will reserve our final judgment until we finish the book, so we judge it as a whole. So there's still hope. Fans who like this book are crossing their fingers. And if you do like the manga, send me a note on Instagram, comment on YouTube, email wordsofwitchespod@gmail.com and defend it, because I would love to read some opposing views on next week's episode, because I'm just not digging it. I didn't like it then, I'm not digging it now. I'd like to hear why people like it and what they get. Maybe they get something different from it than I don't,
Yeah.
So, all right. So now we're into put that in my canonical hat.
Canonical.
We've pretty much highlighted all of them already.
Oh yeah, the one that I told you to put in your back pocket is when Phoebe was talking to Paige and she kept calling her like sweetie and honey. I was like, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't remember Phoebe talking like that towards Paige, like using all these like endearing terms.
She does kind of do that sometimes. Okay. One that's coming to mind right away is in the Sense and Sensibility one, where she's talking to Paige and Paige lost her voice and she's like, "Demon monkey stole my hearing, and you're a voice too. Oh, honey!" And she hugs her.
Yeah.
So I won't say it's never happened. It's just I think it's just the way it was written here seems off. Like, there are ways that she would say it, and in the way that it was written, it was just a little out of order, I think, maybe.
Okay.
Let's see. Canonical. Miss Donovan appears. That's great. I talked about, I'm not sure about the Wendigo babies being scratched thing. And I did like the uncertainty that Paige had about magic school this time around. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention the comfrey root and the banishing a ghost potion they were talking about is a direct reference to the entry in the Book of Shadows that we see in Love's a Witch, which was also referenced in Saving Private Leo and Reckless Abandon. So that's a charmed moment, a show moment. But my biggest problem with Canonical is there is no way in hell Piper and Phoebe would go to magic school for lunch in the middle of the day just for shits and giggles. Like, I know Phoebe says that she's doing this to study the students for the paper, but she would not do that. If anything, she would go to like a mortal school, but she's too busy. She's far too busy to go to schools and research stuff like that. She likes to sit in her office or in her home or with her boyfriends, and like, she would not do this. No, maybe in the evening, maybe when they didn't, like, at this point in the series, I don't know. It just seems very odd.
Yeah, you're right.
I don't believe it. Next is, onomatopoeia. We make it real easy. There's only one, and it was repeated. It was just bring. It was just the bell. That's all that was in here. So there you go.
I'll go with that one.
Most valuable panel.
So I've decided on, I lost it, but it's when they're in Miss Serrata's class, when it shows Marcus and Delia like looking awkward with their energy being stolen. Just because, like, I think that is a good representation of what this comic is. It's explaining kind of the teenagerness and awkwardness, but putting magic with it, which is a very charmed idea to have like a real world issue with magic in the background. But like we said, it could have been done better.
Yeah. I'm going to put the last page we covered, the Delia catching Mr. Rod in the act, because even though we all knew it was coming, we get a rhyme time, we get magic floating around, we get a little bit of queerness all in one page.
Yeah.
And frankly, it was the only truly interesting development in this part of it so far. And that's sad that the thing that we knew was coming from the beginning is what makes this interesting development. So yeah, that's where we're at. So sexiest drawing.
I'm gonna steal your man. I'm gonna do this picture of Mr. Lewis. Oh, it went away. He's so sexy right there.
That's what I put. I put Mr. Lewis sexy side eye. He is my crush of this story.
Yes.
Now I'm mad he wasn't on the show.
I know. He would have been on our Fuck, Marry, Kill.
Right. Okay, so that's where we're at. Next is P is for a poll. We'll have our poll for next week.
Prue? Piper.
You mean it's just you and Prue, huh?
Phoebe? Phoebe, you there?
And a big hello to you too, Penny.
Come on, Patty. The rest is up to them.
Paige. My name is Paige. Another P, imagine that.
P is for poll. And my question is, who is your favorite magic school staff? So you have 4 options. We have Miss Donovan, Mr. Monkey Shines, Mrs. Winterbourne, which was Betsy Randall, Boy Meets World mom. She was the running the nursery in season 6 and 7. And then we have Sigmund, the one that Gideon killed. Although there's a continuity error with Sigmund in the show. I don't think we talked about it when we did it. How can Gideon kill Sigmund on school property when nobody can die at the school?
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
But yeah, those are the 4 options of who's your favorite.
I'm going to say Miss Wintershine. I remember liking her because she is like a very comforting teacher.
I mean, Winterbourne?
Winterbourne, yes. That's what I said.
Yeah, I like Miss Winterbourne too. I like because Miss Donovan is kind of dumb. Like she's like, I'm a preppy little school teacher, but I make the stupidest decisions. And Mr. Monkey Shines, he was trying to censor books. How rude! You're a literary teacher trying to censor books. That's not right. And and Sigmund, I guess Sigmund is nice enough. I think he's adorable, but he doesn't have much backbone. And so yeah, Mrs. Winterbourne is where I end up.
Yeah. By the way, I was at work the other day, which I'm leaving Starbucks. Yes, today's my last day that this comes out. But somebody came in with the name of Paige, and I was like a hair's breadth away from saying, Podge, your drink is ready. This is your fault.
I know. Oh, I love it. So we have reached the end of this section. Next week, we will finish Magic School and get that done and give our final rankings. But until then, where can we find you?
Find me on Instagram, Sean Perrett, Porrett. There you can link to my book on Amazon, my stuff on Threadless, or our podcast, Kevin, Solving for X, where we are on Descent this week. The Mr. Sinister episode, Descent! Woo-hoo!
Oh, so exciting! Extreme! And you can find this podcast at Words of the Witches, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Words of Witches on Twitter. Email wordsofwitchespod@gmail.com if you want to say something. You can go to wordsofthewitches.threadless.com for merch. And yeah, we will see you next week to finish off this Magic School book. Oh, see you then, spellwetters. Your destiny still awaits.
Yeah.